The auditorium pressed in, heavy with heat and the perfume of wilting flowers. Sweat dampened my shirt, palms pressed into my knees as the headmaster walked out, shoulders straight, voice scraping through the murmurs like gravel. He announced, "Before we hand out diplomas, our class valedictorian would like to say a few words." The word valedictorian tripped me up. I rose, feeling every set of eyes turn, the applause a thin static. My mother, fourth row, smiled trembling. Matteo, my brother, looked bored, arms folded. The speech in my notebook seemed insubstantial suddenly. I remembered Nonna Luisa's words, "Speak from your guts, Giulio," so I did. I began, "When I was a kid, I wrecked my mother's oven with a mud and dandelion crostata." Laughter, thin but honest. "I always wanted to be a pastry chef." A snort somewhere behind, still I pressed on. "I know some of you think it's foolish, that nobody gets by making pastries in Rome, but I believe we should chase what makes us hungry for mornings." Applause, polite, then a voice. "Mangia dolce mori povero, eat sweets, die poor." Laughter and embarrassment skittered through the seats. I felt every eye on my burning cheeks. "My dream isn't ridiculous," I managed, "just different." The headmaster's hand landed on my shoulder, firm but gentle. "Thank you, Giulio, such inspiring words," he boomed, the cue unmistakable as he nudged me off stage. I left with my chin up, hands shaking. After graduation, disappointment clung to everything. Sunday meals, my father's silence, Matteo's teasing smirks. When I came in, Dad would grunt over his mug, "Your mother dreams for you, feet on the ground, Giulio." The only comfort was the kitchen's slow heat. Nonna Luisa would remind me, "There's a reason why dough has to rise before you touch it." I took a cleaning job at a bakery by Campo de Fiori, paid discreetly at the end of each week. I watched Massimo, the baker, thick arms, shuffling feet, make bread and magic from the same cracked countertop for years. One day, after I overbaked a tray, he muttered without looking up, "Watch with your nose, not just your eyes." Burnt batches taught me. I failed less often. Patience, confidence, even the pleasure of wiping flour off my arms replaced the humiliation. Still, the ridicule found its way in. Friends faded off to real jobs. Matteo would joke at the bar, "Little brother's planning a bake sale soon." I laughed, but the feeling of not belonging bit deep. On my late walks home, sparrows twisting in dusk over the river, the sorrow and anger mixed. I pressed on, earning little, dreaming more. One night, kneading in the near-dark kitchen, Massimo asked, "Ever think of Paris, Giulio?" I blinked. Paris felt like somewhere you only read about. "The world starts with different butter," he said gruffly. I started researching. Rejections trickled in, no experience, no money. I pinched lira, scrimped, practiced with donated eggs. Months passed, finally a letter. I'd been accepted to a small pastry school in Montmartre. Happiness came mixed with anxiety. Dad reacted with a shrug. Mom kissed my hair, whispering, "Be careful with your heart." Matteo rolled his eyes. "France now." Before I left, Nonna gave me her spoon, its curve polished by decades. "Not for stirring, for tasting. Taste life, Giulio, when it's sweet, when it's bitter." She tucked a prayer card in my pocket and sent me off. Paris was cold, the streets slick with rain and the smell of fresh stone. I lugged my battered suitcase and was soon cramped into a garret above a noisy street, sleeping by a drafty window. My roommates, a Russian sculptor and a Vietnamese violinist, made the nights less lonely. At the academy, my accent stuck out. The head chef, a sharp-eyed woman, barked at us in brisk French. My hands sweated through every piping lesson. When I burned another tray, classmates exchanged glances and shrugged. Evenings, I practiced what I could in the garret's tiny kitchen. My violinist roommate, Wailetawani BFN, tasted burnt madeleines and simply said, "You'll get there." I broke 50 strings learning. I missed Roma, my family, street noise, sunlight through our windows. Still, I endured and improved. I learned to roll dough thin enough for the light to pass through and to temper chocolate so it gleamed. After 6 months, the chef invited me to enter a student competition. That night I called home. Mom nearly cried with joy. Matteo quipped, "A cookie for second place." The competition day shook me. Students dropped trays, weeping silently. Blood from a finger disqualified one baker. I worked quietly, methodically, and set down my crostata studded with Sicilian citrus. Judges paused after tasting. "What is this?" one asked, surprised. "A memory of Rome," I said, "with Paris dreams." I placed first. The prize was small, but the pride inside me wasn't. Returning for the holidays was impossible. Dad's health faltered. I sent money home. Nights I baked grissini and remembered the feel of my mother's hands. Sometimes, alone, I cried into my pillow, homesick but determined. After graduating, I landed an apprenticeship in a Marais bakery under Colette, stout and quick-witted. She ridiculed my attempts at French but caught me sneaking cannoli, tasted one, nodded. "Make them for the shop," she said. They sold out the next morning. Word spread, the Italian bringing Rome's flavors to Paris. I was promoted, then tapped to run La Casa Dolce. Soon, people queued for my lemon tarts and featherlight brioche. A letter arrived from home, Lucia's wedding. My mother's handwriting begged, "Come home if you can." I booked a flight that night, traveling with a worn folder of recipes and fresh pastries wrapped in linen. Rome unfurled around me at dawn, warm air, bells chiming, city alive as ever. At the airport, Mom squeezed me, scolding, "So thin, Mangia, Giulio." The apartment felt smaller, the paint chipped, Dad on the sofa in silence. He greeted me quietly. "Didn't forget where we live, did you?" I shook my head. He grunted, "Working too much for not enough." Dinner was loud, laughter bouncing off the walls. Matteo arrived late with his usual swagger. He grinned at me. "So the French taught you to make biscuits, chef?" When I presented my desserts, tarts and cannoli, they sat ignored. Until Nonna reached out, cut a tart, tasted. She let silence settle. "Better than mine," she declared. Everybody laughed. Suddenly plates filled. Even Dad picked up a tart, eating slowly. Later, I watched Matteo sneak another piece in the hall, thinking no one saw. At the wedding, I wore my best suit, carrying a tray of confections. Lucia's voice shook slightly as she introduced me. "My cousin Giulio from Paris made these. Please try them." Polite clapping. My pastries, cherry tartlets, chocolate domes, passed from hand to hand. Conversation dipped, then rose. Soon people called for seconds and laughter swelled. Matteo, always the first to jab, bit into a chocolate tart. His eyes widened. He turned to his friends to share more. Uncle Roberto, usually critical, waved me over. "Your father says you command a kitchen now. Open a bakery here, Giulio." I grinned. I saw Dad in a far corner, face unreadable but softer than before. One old-school friend stood on a chair, holding up a cannolo. "Didn't we say he'd die poor?" he called. "Come up here, Giulio's." I stepped forward, smiling, a feeling of lightness where once there was shame. Quietly, Dad came to my side, squeezed my shoulder hard. "You made something good, Giulio," he said, voice thick. I could only nod, pride and relief tangling in my chest. Nonna's winking smile across the room caught my eye. After the celebration, I walked home through the quiet streets, the city glowing, river reflecting patchwork light. Passing the bakery where I learned my craft, I paused to inhale flour dust and memory. At home, Mom waited with tea. She reached out gently, telling me, "They finally see you." "I see myself," I said softly. The fear and anger had faded, peace settled in their place. She brushed a crumb from my cheek. "The world is wide, Giulio. Don't stay too long one place but always come home." I fell asleep with Nonna's spoon under my pillow, letting the warmth of belonging linger. My doubts had baked away. I had brought back something real, something sweeter than any approval, the knowledge that what once felt foolish was now something to share. I was home.